We've got voyeurism, exotic meats, exotic dancing, and Andy's Rosebud in this very Nard Doggy style garden party focused episode.
Okay, don't be gross.
Hey everyone, I'm Chris, and if this video hasn't been demonetized yet, this is when I'll say that I'm reviewing every episode of The Office ever, and today we're looking at Garden Party, featuring one of the best pranks in the series, some quality cringe, and a particularly surface level deeper meaning. So with that, let's go.
I understand nothing.
It's funny, after watching American Auto and making it a season or two into Superstore, I think I'm getting a hang of Justin Spitzer's vibe. For example, Garden Party begins with the billboard vandalism cold opening.
No, 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 no! No!
It's one of those dreamlike sequences that's rooted in reality, but it's so far beyond realistic. While vandals are the scourge of people controlling public advertising, I'm sure, if you didn't hail from the land of the red, white, and blue, it'd probably be easy to think that every billboard hung 200 feet above the road is just like plastered with phallic symbols left and right, if you believe this cold opening. Yeah, maybe for like street level posters, I'm sure that's an issue, but I don't think this is a thing, at least where I come from. I guess in fairness, some of those things are turning digital, so that'll turn into hacker territory. Now that I say that, I think the Mets just had their giant thing hacked. At any rate, it fits the Justin Spitzer model I'm building quite well. The real introduction for this episode begins, like most, in the conference room, with Andy explaining the Garden Party essentials and Dwight explaining this map, which I love. This hand-drawn whiteboard butte includes Scranton's gay district, several warnings of danger, good sushi, which does seem off-brand for Dwight, a trail of tears, and the unexplored outer realms beyond the outlet mall. And we can tell from this that Dwight has been diversifying his farm crops with other root veggies, which is a great idea since heirloom tomatoes have been pushing back and all.
I made some inroads in salad, but heirloom tomatoes are pushing back.
Dwight's map does set up a quick joke about the Google Maps car.
They don't warn you when the cameras are driving by.
Which really would help if you got notified when they were coming by. Somehow I had my food truck sitting in our driveway one day, and you know, that's not really going to help with curb appeal when I go to sell the house, or maybe it will, I don't know. People like food trucks. The real reason for the bit is to set up the whole James Trickington prank, which is a gift that just keeps on giving throughout this episode, but we're going to talk about that more later. So we're on to Shrute Farms, which is a property that we've seen before in this series, but it's also a filming location for a lot of different productions. The purpose of this outing was made pretty clear during the intro.
It's a garden party. You don't need a reason.
Why didn't you just say this was to impress Robert California?
Did I throw this party to impress my parents? It's crazy.
From here, the episode really kind of just turns into a collection of bits, including our favorite ex-writer of The Office.
I'm the valet. You have to
It's a finicky
get out of your car.
A little tricky. You might want to be careful not to take.
And we are introduced to Andy's new parents, and they are in fact the worst. New dad is played by the Seventh Heaven dad, and new mom is played by the mom from E.T. My TikTok algorithm, by the way, has been inundated with Seventh Heaven is a weird show videos. Regardless, while I stand by what I said earlier, we are introduced here to Walter Bernard.
Walter Jr.'s choice.
Oh, there he is.
What? Bronard? I didn't know you were going to be here.
Played by Josh Groban, and he is the worst. The character, not Josh Groban. I'm sure he's cool. I don't really know much about him. I actually did, now that I'm thinking of it, I did see him starring in a Broadway production of Sweeney Todd, which is like poetic in a way that I don't really know how I feel about. Like I said, the garden party itself is just a collection of bits.
I am so cold.
It's because you didn't bring a jacket.
Are you sure? No.
Yeah. I'm too hot anyway.
My body has somehow become acclimated to southern Italy.
Classic Spitzer stuff here. The senior Nard dogs wanted to duck out almost as early as they got there.
Nard man is my father.
But things don't really quite heat up in this episode until the toast off and the forced daddy and me moment Andy tries to create, which is literally pulled away from Andy and given to his brother. The sibling rivalry of theirs has apparently been waging since Walter Jr. came along.
I thought you said your younger brother was named Walter Jr.
My brother was born, and my parents felt he better exemplified the Walter Jr. name, so they gave it to him.
And again, not to sound like a broken record, but these elements like most of this episode, are familiar, but they just dip so far into the unbelievable territory. Walter seems oblivious that this rivalry even exists, and after the cringe-inducing toast sequence...
Cheers, cheers, cheers. Get your own guitar.
Sorry.
And then the heart-to-heart inside, Walter Sr. seems to be the kind of dad who works on basic chemistry of a relationship rather than, actually like raising your progeny. At least he's rich enough to pay for his kids' first year of therapy to deal with all their daddy issues, but we'll get into that more in the deeper meaning. But while that cringe daddy and me conversation happens, the rest of the staff overhear the dart to the heart conversation thanks to PP Halpert's
PP Halpert!
baby monitor, which is a bold strategy, guys.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
If you're going to be at a place for like 2 or 3 hours, just find a babysitter if you can't interrupt nap time. It seems like a weird thing to leave your baby in Dwight Schrute's house, especially with Moe's running around.
Welcome, children.
But writers got it right. Long after the garden party's guest of honor take over, the office staff once again band together to support their newish captain with the grilling up of some burgers.
Cheeseburger or hamburger?
Cheeseburger?
Nard Boss.
And with that, James Trickington has one surprise to signify the end of the party and the end of this episode.
Closing ceremony.
What does a bean mean?
Someone please explain it to Cat.
I thought the best way to handle the deeper meaning here is to have a quick counseling session with the Nard dog to see where all these daddy issues have presented themselves throughout the series. But first, let's define a daddy issue. Do you have a dad? Well, then most psychologists and therapists and TikTok influencers would agree you have daddy issues. Now, the degree to which these issues impact your life are probably determined by the extent of his behavior combined with your perception of his behavior. Because we need to remember, it's not always what happened that breaks us. It's how we think about what happened. Humans are weird, and all these emotions seem like this biological hangover from when we needed to worry about such things. But as it is, it's worth sometimes going back and thinking through that trauma with the help of someone who's actually an expert. But, let's pretend to be experts for a little bit. Take Walter Sr. He for sure is a textbook hands-off dad. Stereotyping is an essential storytelling element in shows like The Office. It's hard to show nuance for these one-off characters, so we have to bring in everything that we know from pop culture and apply it to these people. So at least that's the way I read this stuff. Rich people in television shows are hands-off with their kids. They tend to be highly selective of who they let into their inner circle, mostly only considering relationships from a perspective of what can this person do for me. So whatever reason, at birth, Walter Sr. knew that Walter Jr. was going to be a winner. And from that day on, those are the frameworks that defined the father's behavior towards his kids. Walter Jr. is a winner. Andrew is a loser. This would lead Walter Jr. to have this high level of confidence, enabling him and empowering him to thrive growing up. His confidence would lead him to have little stress about performing, leading to a higher performance in virtually every area of his life. And the exact opposite would have been Andrew's experience. Because of his perceived loser status labeled on him by his father, he would constantly attempt to prove himself and earn that father's attention, his validation, meet his expectations, which would literally never happen, leading him to feel the need to peacock just to get approval. And with Andy, peacocking is his thing. He's always flashing these badges of honor to the people around him.
Where'd you go to college?
Cornell.
Oh, that's good.
And this flashing is just veiled attempts to seek some level of validation. Being the frat boy, being the rich guy, the
Regional director in charge of sales.
they're all just pieces of flair trying to get that love and validation that daddy never really gave him. This would lead to all of the instability we see in the series.
Michael, am I gay?
Not that I'm saying that being gay is unstable.
Hey, you're unstable.
But we have more than enough evidence to conclude that Andy considers the word and even the rumors about him from his peers with way more weight than, what most people would consider healthy. It's possible that the a cappella group was the first time that he ever felt a sense of validation in his abilities and as a human in a group.
I heard 8 male voices singing, unencumbered by instruments. I was hooked.
Which is why he can't help but hang on to those days for dear life. But since most of the world would consider being in a college a cappella group dumb, after college, he's back to just floundering around. And since he's pretty much wasted his college years trying to find that acceptance, he didn't really gain any valuable skills, depending on if you even think you can get valuable skills from college, leaving him to take any job that he could possibly qualify for. In this case, he became a paper salesman.
Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, AIG, my summer at Enron.
This is the only job I've ever been good at.
And while Michael somehow excelled at sales in spite of his fluctuating people skills, Andy's pretty terrible through and through.
We put our baby in Pam. Doesn't matter what Pam looks like.
And we haven't even touched Andy's love life yet. Again, relying on sitcom tropes, rich dudes like their trophies, golf trophies, professional trophies, and their trophy wife, leading Andy on a quest to find his trophy wife, striking it out with
Jamie. Andy. Oh, what are you doing here?
Andy?
But when the opportunity to court Angela comes up, he took that. No matter how terrible she treated him, he was hopelessly pursuing her, which kind of sounds romantic, except it's not, because it was never about her. It was always about him. It's about proving to his parents what's up, which is why he invites his parents to the spur of the moment proposal. Andy is a wreck of a human being, and Oscar and Daryl are right.
I think if I had parents like that, I'd be trying to convince everyone all the time how great I was too.
Now we just understand just how much of his daddy issues are causing that. All that to say that Andy's moment here in the end of the episode is another bit of validation that he so desperately craves. And he got it because he had people in his life who could see through his self-seeking validation crap. And also people that would leave their babies sitting in the Dwight Schrute's house.
Nice touch.
Which is all very touching. So yeah, all of Andy's issues probably come down to what he experienced as a kid and his perception of those events growing up. Parenting in modern day is like walking through a landmine field. There's obviously no single right way to raise your kids. There are for sure plenty of wrong ways to raise your kids. Treat them like they're the most important thing in your life and that they're so special that they can do nothing wrong. You're going to end up with this guy.
Bye, Tuna. Bye, Pam.
Treat your kid like they're a loser who can't ever meet your expectations, and you'll end up with this guy.
I will now show you how to put this condom on using this pencil.
Oh, God.
Well, I'm not going to use my penis, Oscar.
Being a parent is hard, and, daddy issues seem to be a part of the modern human experience. So if you're a new parent, the best advice I can give you is don't ever, for any reason, do anything
To anyone, for any reason, ever, no matter what. This is the worst.
Garden Party seems to be the conclusion to the season 8 opening arc that I'm just going to call, see, Andy's not a bad guy.
No!
Right, so let's start with the cold opening. I'm not sure how many more Spitzer episodes there's going to be, and I'm too lazy to look it up at the moment, but I would love to see a graphic show up right now which just says, "That's so Spitzer," because that's so Spitzer. The premise, the execution, all of it. It's comedic and a fun bit, don't get me wrong, but there's something about it that just doesn't work. It's not iconic. I can't think of any time I've ever heard anyone actually talk about this cold opening, ever. I can't think of a single meme I've ever seen using anything from this cold opening. And from my own experience, when this episode comes on any replay, I think to myself, oh yeah, this one happened. It's not bad. It's fine. I give it a 3 out of 5.
Oh, good.
Oh, by the way, like and subscribe, all that YouTube crap. That definitely helps me out. The Garden Party episode is one of the rare Out of the Office episodes that I think does actually work pretty good. But again, they rely on Spitzer's brand of writing, in which these semi-over-the-top bits are just kind of sequenced together in a semi-regular cadence of storytelling fit into the fray. The cringe of this episode works exceptionally well across the board. The characters are all in character and the set design works. It all just works. And there's a lot of fun to be had here. It's just missing something to really feel weighty. Perhaps it's the fact that the "see, Andy's not a bad guy" arc is retconned later on, which just makes this whole thing feel useless. So I'll give you my framework on how Spitzer writes. The best stuff I've seen from him are these touching moments, which come together after sequences of chaos. American Auto had a few notable episodes like this, and what I've seen from Superstore so far also had a lot of this same stuff. My working framework for Spitzer is that he sees these touching scenes as the destination, as what to get to, and then he writes how to get there. So in the garden party, how do we show Andy's family is terrible, but his work family's great? Got it. That's where we want to go. How do we get there?
Nailed it.
Well, I typically like these moments of, aw, I definitely think that they need to be earned. And in this case, as sometimes has been the case for Spitzer's other work, I don't think that they are, in fact, earned. But none of that really matters in an episode when Jim wrote an entire garden party host guidebook using a pen name of James Trickington. And while I think this might be the most elaborate prank that Jim ever played on Dwight to this point in the show, it definitely strays from the suspension of disbelief due to Dwight having no inhibitions throughout this event. Like, he's not even human, he's got no context for what normal people expect. But I'm not without a heart and sense of humor. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't delighted with the shenanigans we get here. And obviously, I love sinking my teeth into the deeper meaning of the garden party episode. So I'm going to, and I wrote this a while ago, so I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5.
It was a nice party.
But I don't feel super good about it.
Sandwiches were dry.
But that's all I have to say about Garden Party. What are your thoughts? What would you rate it? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I really love to hear everybody's things. Thanks for all those likes and subscriptions. Super helps me out with all the algorithm stuff. And thanks to all the patrons who've combined to make sure that I can get at least one more video out a month at this point. So thank you so much with that. If you're interested, check out the links in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.